So, it is a battle that has been prepared for has been brewing for months. We are ready to fight the Germans. Come on. Come on. Sword. Shing. Shing, shing. Shing, shing. 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 I think we did it. We have won. But there's one thing. It appears the enemies has gotten evil spiritual monsters. So in order to compare them, we will use spiritors who will stop the evil mystics. But it appears they have used skull troopers who've arrived in great bunches and spine wheels. So we need to use our Vikings, and we call on a man of electrics, but they call on witches from the sky. Or maybe not witches, but somehow they get people to be in the sky. We don't exactly know what they are doing. With this, we call on for a great defense. And although it looks lost, which it was, we had won the power, the goodness in our hearts, the greatness, and we summoned something that could not be beaten. We summoned the townspeople. Cowboys appeared from it. Generals, mech, things that we had never seen, and troops. Some of them looking more sophisticated than what we had had, but all united to fight the grand evil. But although that, the blue still outmatched us. So there was one thing that we had to do. We called in for our Norwegian brothers, the Vikings. All ready? And from then, hundreds of Vikings descended. But some Vikings were put on the blue. The blue had taken. We even had called in a super soldier. Ultras. Men of the great color, who used the color guns. They shed paint. Who used the great paint guns that shot out great balls of color. Now from this, we use this advantage and we rushed them. But from it still looked like they may win. But luckily, we had the Skullmen fell down in seconds as the Summoners were defeated. But luckily, as we had defeated them, the great men of butchery were defeated. Butcherers. And with that, but still, it was not enough, as the enemies, but luckily, we had one advantage. Our Viking buddies called on for thousands of Vikings and convinced some of the people who could fly, aka what many people would call witches, switched to our side, and men with big explosives. And some of the evil archers were called in for us, that they were not, as we had saved them, and we had, as our charge was great, the enemies. With the witches dead, I used my shiny sword, and we will win! What is it? And using my simple hand, I pushed them down, pushing them away, tumbling in them to be hit, but the Skullmen were just too powerful, as thousands of them marched to our weakened men. The blue were defeated. We had won. But suddenly, troops were removed, and thousands of the troops who had just suddenly disappeared. It seemed that a storm was brewing. As though we made the battle much more simpler, me, the king, just became straight on, and it had appeared that we may not win the battle, charged the enemy king, and he surrendered. But sadly, we apparently lost. But I got the king to surrender. So then, men appeared. Then, thousands of Vikings appeared. All ready to fight the Germanic tribes. It was. I used my absolute speed. And I charged the enemy. As the skull people were defeated, it looked like we were winning. But vampirians were not so sure about that. But victory was achieved. As I was shot, I protected myself, and the blue were defeated once more. Feel blue as the last blue troop was defeated, and then the battle was done. Hope you guys enjoyed that video. And then they surrendered. And we had formed greatness. And yes, we had formed greatness, but our country had one gigantic problem. We had needed to build a bigger military, and so we built one. We and explored across the world. Goodbye.